everyone. Happy Friday. Firstly, I would like to wish you all happy Friday. Hope you're keeping well and safe and healthy. That's very important. End of the week, and I'm very excited to end my week on VCTV as always. Today, the topic is very close to my heart, as much as close to you all. It's about blockchain and crypto application in capital markets. This is just need of the hour with a lot of announcements, a lot of things that happened in last few days with Bitcoin, like spiking up, and a lot of fintech players coming into embracing crypto. So we have to discuss. This panel is very apt for to discuss such topics today. So yeah, I have speakers who have been on VCTV before. I have some new speakers as well, so I'm very excited. So before I deep dive into our discussions, I would like to introduce. I'd like to talk a little bit about VCTV for those who may not know. So VCTV stands for Venture Capital TV. As you can see, it's from LATOKEN. So LATOKEN is a cryptocurrency exchange. So LATOKEN used to hold Blockchain Economic Forum, which were the road shows where we used to travel all around the world to connect people, investors, and startups, right? That was the whole goal. Startups are the one who are looking for fundraising, and investors are the one who are looking for good projects to invest in. So that was the whole goal, and that goal and objective has remained totally intact with VCTV as well. So because of the pandemic, we moved very quickly online, and that's how VCTV was born in March 2020. I've been hosting VCTV since then. I host it every day, Monday to Friday, 8 p.m. and very fixed time, Singapore time. We have other shows as well throughout the day, and you can check our website for more details. So yes, my name, I just want to introduce myself as well a bit. For those who do not know, most of you know me already. Just for those who may not know you, my name is Sunny Mohanty. I'm the regional director of LATOKEN. I'm based here in Singapore. Yeah, that's me. I love hosting VCTV and meeting people like you. Okay, welcome Mashir, welcome George, welcome Girish for the first time on VCTV. So I'd like to start with Mashir, who is dialing in from Hong Kong first. Hi Mashir, welcome to VCTV. Happy Friday. How are you today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me again, Sonny. Pleasure to join LATOKEN and this panel discussion.
Perfect. But could you please introduce yourself briefly and the company you represent and what you do in the space? Thank you.
Sure. So I am a founder and managing director of FinStep Asia. We are a startup, scale-up, and technology company advisory firm where we help companies to go to new markets. We also have expertise in working with large corporates in finding problems, statements, solving solutions, and we do bespoke research on a host of topics and run events as well. Our expertise in the space lies from my background in trading as well as in fintech as part of the ecosystem, and having reviewed the space from looking at how blockchain has been transforming financial services, not only from a crypto perspective, but also in terms of various applications across FS.
Perfect, and we look forward to hear from you more. Thank you so much, Mashir, and welcome to VCTV. Next, I have George. Hi, George. Welcome back on VCTV. How are you today? Happy Friday, and where are you dialing in from?
I'm actually dialing from Cyprus, although I was in Dubai most of the time, but I had to. It's almost the Christmas holidays, so spending a bit of time also with the family. It's a pleasure to be here. I am lucky enough to head a few organizations. One of them is the Global Blockchain Organization, which promotes the usage of blockchain for good and blockchain as an efficiency tool. I also have a DeFi X project that we launched October 25th. And we're also in the process of relaunching an organization that I manage called Ubuntu Group, which is about gold tokenization, stable coins, and allowing ecosystem marketplace across Middle East and Africa and the rest around the world. So it's a pleasure to be here.
All right, perfect. Thank you, George, for the introduction. Seems like you are doing a lot in the space, DeFi, tokenization. We are really excited. Our audience is really excited to hear more from you. Last but not least, we have Girish as well, who's joined us for the very first time. Girish, welcome to VCTV. Are you there? You are on mute, Girish. You have to unmute yourself.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Welcome to the weekend episode of VCTV. We would like our audience to know you a bit. Please, can you help introduce yourself, like what you do in the space and how long you've been working in the space? And yes, please, thank you.
Yes, I've been in the financial markets for more than 30 years, and last 3 years I've moved into the emerging technology space, mainly blockchain, and now slowly into AI. I've conducted a lot of training sessions for HNS, UHNS about blockchain and cryptocurrencies, and mainly Bitcoin, basically all over Asia and Middle East. And now we are looking at a phenomenal tipping point, which can just basically really have a massive tsunami and explosive growth to the entire crypto space and tokenization, which is currently happening all over now. And this is what the audience would like to hear now from all of us on the panel, that what is the future for basically how for blockchain and crypto space in the capital markets, which includes equity markets, real estate, commodities, and everything else.
All right. Wow. There are a lot of things, a lot of experience in the space, Girish, and our audience are going to love listening to you today. And welcome again on VCTV. Fantastic. Oh, Gary is here. Gary, hi. Happy Friday.
Hello.
How are you? I thought I might not see you on the Friday.
No, I've already been on one today. This is my second VCTV.
Right. I knew you'll be here. Don't worry. I mean, I was just kidding. Okay, Gary, happy Friday. Welcome back to the weekend episode of VCTV. We're finishing the week. We want to finish the week on a good note. So, Gary, for those, we have new speakers today. Just please help introduce, help
myself. Oh, well.
Oh, no, I didn't mean that. Help myself.
I'm like a self-psychologist here, My name is Gary Fowler, and I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've done 16 companies. I've been involved in 2 unicorns. Click Software, I was on the original team of. It was sold to Salesforce for $1.35 billion 18 months ago. I'm also the co-founder of Viva.ai. Eva is one of the top AI HR tech companies. It's also nearing the $1 billion mark today. I am the CEO, co-founder, president of GSD Get Shit Done Venture Studios, a Silicon Valley-based AI venture studios. I'm an investor. What else? I've written 103 articles now in the last year on artificial intelligence and quantum computing. Particularly interested in the intersection of AI and quantum. I don't know. I'm a clinical psychologist. I went to school in Russia also for 5 years at Moscow State University. So, I've been around the block a few times. I'm a country boy from Pennsylvania too.
Yes, and we know that. Okay, thank you, Gary, and welcome back on VCTV. And we love you as much as you love VCTV, and audience love to hear from you. And I'm sure you have so many fans out here within the speaker community as well, who always love to hear your insights on be it AI, quantum computing, and whatnot. Thank you so much. We are all set with the introductions about the speakers for the very, very interesting topic today. So we are covering it for the first time on my panel show, blockchain, crypto application in capital markets, right on time as BTC, Bitcoin, sort of touched 23,000 USD, I guess. Right now, I just checked out. So a lot of things happening. A lot of players like American Express just announced. I just saw, they acquired a crypto exchange. Coinbase is one of the American crypto exchanges. They're going public with an IPO. So lots of things happening in the space. We'd like to know your insights. Let's start with the opening remarks for the topic itself. So Masher, I'm gonna start with you because you are deep into fintech. I know I read your updates. You live in Hong Kong. Of course, I know about that as well. So let's start with you with the opening remarks for the topic.
Right. Thanks again, Sunny. And when we look at this topic, right, I think we need to clearly do a bit of distinction between blockchain in the capital market space versus crypto in the capital market space. Right? Albeit that a lot of the financial institutions have jumped in last week or announced what they're doing over the last week or 2 weeks is going to be about offering digital assets through their services. The key element for me is how blockchain for financial services has evolved in capital markets. As I 4 years ago, almost 5 years ago, my previous employer, Grace Park, had released a
Sorry.
report on blockchain for capital markets, right? So the topic isn't new, but it's evolved to now having a lot of institutions using it. So when I look at this topic, for me, it's about the maturity of blockchain to be able to handle large scale transactions and more importantly, an acceptance from regulators and financial institutions to deploy it for large scale applications. So that's where I would start off with saying that we have reached a inflection point where now a lot of institutions trust the technology and are able to deploy it for large scale applications.
All right. Great opening remarks for the topic today, Mushir. Thanks for differentiating. Sorry about that little noise that appeared in the middle. It got me distracted a bit. Thank you so much.
Right.
Next, I have George. George, what's your opening remarks about the topic like blockchain, crypto application into capital markets? How do you see that coming? I mean, we've seen a lot of things happening.
Well, I think there's several angles to address the issue and the topic from. The first one is to address it from the point of view of the stakeholders. And the stakeholders include people like the regulators, so the people that create the regulations for things like tokenization, as an example. We have to look at from the point of view of the investors, which, for example, it gives them lower entry points or fractional entry points, or more liquidity or the capability to trade faster. We have to look at it from the perspective of, for example, the fund managers, which are the people that are quite important, especially from the institutional perspective, because there's a big movement towards institutional investors and fund managers into this space where before they stayed a little bit on the outside. And there is also the people that are actually creating the tokens or issuing them for different purposes. Some are issuing tokens to generate stable coins. Some are generating tokens to create venture capital or to create even funds in some cases, or to simply initiate their startup projects. In all these cases, I do believe that blockchain as a technology is primarily a big digitalization factor. It's a big accelerator factor, and it's a big trust factor. So when we combine these three elements together, then I guess we can address each one in a little bit more detail. And that's where, for example, exchanges like LATOKEN and others start to play an important role, because they are the intermediators that for a very small commission enable all these parties to come together and make magic happen in this business.
Yes, absolutely. Magic. That's the word. That's the word I would say, because I've been in the industry for quite some time already, and the way things have just turned out in 2020 over the years has actually surprised me in a good way. Magical moment, I would say. Thank you so much, George. Next, Girish, are you there?
Yes, I'm very much here.
Okay,
Yeah,
fantastic,
I'm
Girish.
here.
Yeah, so we will like to know your insights about the topic as an opening remark. What do you have to say about this topic?
Well, I've been extremely bullish on blockchains in the last 3.5 years. And looking at how open banking, DeFi, and fintech has basically clearly shown advantages to the entire banking and financial services industry, the blockchain is going to change the entire landscape for the corporates, for the governments, for investors, for regulators, for everybody in the ecosystem in terms of operational efficiencies, in terms of being swift, being very fast, in terms of having no mistakes. There's no need for reconciliations. It's just a phenomenal technology which is just coming into being now. You have World Bank already doing and issuing bonds on the blockchain. You have the large banks from the US, Europe already doing a bond issuance on the blockchain, and slowly they will go into equities and tokenization, which has clearly changed the entire landscape on how the unbanked and the underbanked can be on the blockchain with having the banking facilities and in the invest.
Hello? Have we lost Girish?
Who could not invest was the risk there. So this is how blockchain is going to change the entire spectrum of basically the financial markets and even for governments and even for corporates. So I'm very happy to see it now. This kind of digital transformation after the COVID going to just explode now.
Yes, absolutely. Totally agree with what you just shared. Government embracing blockchain is a big, turning point for the technology. Gary, over to you. I mean, with the opening remarks.
Yeah. So I mean, I agree with a lot of what's said. However, I've written an article, I guess last week, on why quantum computing is going to make blockchain obsolete. So we've got some other challenges coming down the pipe. You know, when you talk about systems that can be 100 million times faster than conventional computing, a blockchain is hackable. So we need to look at the other thing is cybersecurity in the blockchain. Now, we've got more mass adoption of it. We need to make sure that it's secure and that we're not getting into issues. The other thing is the combination of AI and blockchain is going to dramatically increase the effectiveness of the blockchain. So, I'm not a guru in the capital markets, although I'm an investor and serial entrepreneur. And I can tell you from the what I see with I have 16 startups, growth stage companies today, that this is a great opportunity. But I come in with some caution. One is, remember, it's not unhackable. And so we had better look at cybersecurity. I've written several articles in Security Informed about the vulnerability of blockchain. So we better understand those and not think it's a cure-all and end-all. And the other thing is, as I said, quantum computing. It's going to change everything, and blockchain will not be secure with quantum computing unless you have quantum encoding.
Wow, that's a very contradictory statement, but I would love to know more from you, Gary. So how quantum computing, anyways, quantum computing is very much futuristic for me as well, and also for our audience. We'd like to know more how that can disrupt blockchain if this factor is not met. We'll come over to you later with that question.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Very interesting. Great. Mushir, over to you. So would you like to focus on blockchain or crypto, or are you going to talk about both? Like what kind of, so basically, are you invested into Bitcoin? Let me just start with you first. Do you invest into cryptos at all?
It's strangely enough, I have invested very little in cryptocurrencies as such. I'm an ex-trader, so I have a tendency to want to only trade things, to invest in things that I can actually trade and look at it. So that's just a personal point. And I want to focus on the blockchain side of things. I mean, the topic for me is more about why institutions are getting into it. There's been enough and more focus about crypto, the pricing of BTC reaching 23,000, and one of the main reason, it surprised me that it didn't hit 20,000 before after all the news came in. I mean, there were a bunch of other reasons why it was waiting to cross 20,000, but reason for the push is largely going to be around because of the use, right? Now BTC, I mean, Bitcoin as such happens to be the oldest and is the flag bearer, flagship as it is, and it's unique. But what we need to be focused upon is, like Gary was mentioning, is the technology. And that's what's going to make the difference, whether it's going to be blockchain, whether it's going to be DLT, and how we progress. Because one of the key elements that is happening in the blockchain space is we are going into two paths, right? One is the DeFi path, right? So a lot of focus on the DeFi, which probably goes back to the core of what Bitcoin was designed for, right? Decentralized finance, that's what they wanted. While if you look at everything else, is going towards centralized networks, right? So decentralized protocols, but managed by centralized. So your central bank digital currencies, use of blockchain by financial institutions, everything regulated, having custody and service by financial institutions, just shows you that we're going to be in these two parts. But regulations is an important element of why this is grown,
Yeah.
Bringing in regulations brought in more serious players, brought in more money into it, because a lot of the large institutions not just come in with a scale, but they also come in with resources which their clients will also shown an interest, and hence they start building for on the buying side of the investment side of crypto, right? The digital asset space. On the other side, the technology itself, because of the upgrades that have come in, the ICO boom was actually was not as good as the ICO crash was for blockchain. And I'll just explain why. Simply because when the ICO boom happened, there's a lot of money that was going into random ICOs. Quite a few projects of those failed, but it just meant there's a lot of money coming in, and people started researching the topic. You had a lot of the others from IBM to Google to Microsoft starting to put more money in understanding how best to use blockchain. And that has led to the progress now of being able to have scalable blockchains, and for governments and regulators, all of them looking at blockchain, from trade finance to currencies to investment platforms to everything else. And potentially also when we're talking about vaccines, that's a different whole story. But that economy related to healthcare also could be on the blockchain, right? So that I think is an important element, and that will be my focus. That I think we should be looking to push more is how strong can this technology be? How will that evolve? Are we going to go down this path where we'll have a clear distinction between the DeFi economy, which is going to be peer-to-peer in some senses, or are we going to go towards centralized, centrally managed blockchains or networks like CBDCs and other institutional networks that we are looking at?
Yeah, agreed. I just want to add one thing. I think regulations is very important, but the blockchain technology itself is decentralized. I mean, there is no, I mean, that two different things. You still can regulate a decentralized technology. Why not? Well, so that's just wanted to add. But regulations are very important to bring in the trust in the mass. And second, to your ICO point, all this, DBS, they're launching their crypto exchange. You must have heard the news. They're also probably into STOs, which is security token offering. Yep. So these are also tokens, which are securities instead of utilities. So that's a game changer in itself, I would say.
Yes and no. In some senses, the model is not new, right? And you have to pay attention to the regulations here. It's only for professional investors, right? And STOs in most of the large
always been for accredited investors. STOs
and even so the digital asset ecosystem that DBS is going to offer is likely to be only for professional investors, not for the retail investors as yet. Maybe PayPal will go down that path because they're allowing that, or Amex's acquisition could be something that they may look at. But from the bank's perspective, I think they will first start off with providing services for professional, qualified AIs, whatever you want to call it, in different jurisdictions. But I think they'll start off with that, and then they will move on to if the regulators allow it, for retail. STOs definitely will be. You may see a lot more people trying to use tokenization and using these platforms. So some of the bigger names would come and try to fractionize and release their tokens in that prospect.
Yeah. So George has been associated with a few STOs in the past. So George, do you like to continue with what we were discussing with Mushir, or do you have any other?
No, I'm happy to get into both the discussion that Mushir had, as well as with Gary as well, from both sides. But first, from Mushir's perspective, I do believe that the future is going to be hybrid. I think there is both a role to play by centralized institutions with a lot of regulation, and decentralized or completely decentralized like DeFi. One thing is for sure, decentralized moves faster. And that's why an organization like Uniswap was able to do in 3 months what it took 3 years for Binance to do. So that really means money moves faster, moves where it sees opportunity for growth. Now, the world cannot be 100% DeFi, and there's many reasons for that, because at the end of the day, if you have everything that is 100% digital, you need to be related with something that is real and physical. Now, whether you're tokenizing shares of a company, whether you're tokenizing gold or real estate, that really gives DeFi or tokens a much completely different value. So that means people are able to create asset-backed tokens or stable coins. I mean, stable is, of course, in some cases, a variation of these. But at the end of the day, it is important to note that both CBDCs as well as DeFi world will cooperate together. And the best example of that, although Bitcoin, we can call this almost like blockchain 1.0. A few years later, we had Ethereum, we can call it blockchain 2.0. Today, the two cooperate together. That's why, for example, in Ethereum, although there's no Bitcoin, we can get wrapped Bitcoin, which means it's exactly like Bitcoin. We just put Bitcoin in custody somewhere, and we enable to trade it at the real value that Bitcoin has on the market. So the two worlds can cooperate in a completely different way. The point that Gary brought around is actually dear to my heart because I've been in cybersecurity for over 23, 24 years. And his point is correct, but I differ in a few areas. I do not believe that we have yet reached the stage of what I would call quantum reality, in the sense that, yes, quantum computing is available. Quantum computing is a threat in the not too distant future, and we need to keep upgrading the capabilities of blockchain to defend itself against any future threats associated with quantum computing. However, we have much more realistic threats today. Although the blockchain itself is a technology of trust and it's completely or almost 99% secure, we still have lots of attacks. $2 billion of funds got lost last year. 5 to 7% of all Bitcoin got lost. Why? Because there is critical flaws in the system. And the flaws are not necessarily in the blockchain itself, is that the blockchain needs to coexist in a complete system. And this complete system is things like digital wallets. Maybe the blockchain is secure, but the digital wallet is not. Maybe the blockchain is secure, but we have not given enough skills or security awareness skills to the user who gets phished and provides his key or loses his key. We don't have always key recovery systems for anything. Definitely there is no key recovery systems for Bitcoin unless you're using some kind of custody service. So I do believe that there's immediate threats that we need to address with blockchain aspect. The other thing that I like to mention is that any kind of application, once I say, oh, this is a blockchain application for capital markets, blockchain is maybe 5% of the whole application. The rest is full stack development. What does it mean? If I have a mobile application, this is my mobile. It's mobile code, it's iOS, it's Android. If there's flaws in Android that can lead to a vulnerability, the user will get hacked and the funds will disappear. So it's sometimes so we have to understand that things don't leave an absence of the entire ecosystem. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done in cybersecurity, much ahead of even what I'll call quantum threat. The last point is the coexistence of blockchain with other technologies. I do believe that the biggest benefits in blockchain will come from the coexistence of blockchain with other technologies, whether it is artificial intelligence, whether it is cloud computing, whether it is 5G, whether it is robotics, or a combination of the above. So when you are able to combine various technologies in a creative way, you're able to create products that are quite unique, quite differentiable, and add new value. And obviously those ones are the ones that are going to capture the attention of the market, and they're going to create the future unicorns. One thing about unicorns, I'm not always so bullish about unicorns. I believe the world is made out of unicorns and zebras. What does it mean? Yes, we'll have a few unicorns, but the bread and butter of what we do is businesses that are profitable day in, day out, because they have found a good business model. And we need to invest in both. And I think the rule is probably 80-20, or maybe even less, but you can say that 5 or 20% are going to be unicorns, but the 80% are going to be zebras. And if we focus on these, I think we are taking the right step as we move forward.
Great points, George, over there, the zebras and the unicorns. And I think I totally agree about the coexistence of all the technologies. Very rightly said. Girish, would you like to share your insights about the topic in continuation to Mushir and George?
Yes, definitely. I will. Let me say regarding what Gary said, quantum computing definitely can hack into a blockchain. At the same time, quantum computing can be helped for defending it. So it's not necessary that you look at only the evil part of quantum computing. Coming to DeFi, like I said earlier, is going to help tremendously smaller investors, the unbanked and the underbanked. At the same time, we do require to be regulated. Today, DeFi is more than a $14 billion industry, and it's clearly shown that risk appetite is there for it. Now, it's up to each investor how they look into their risk appetite and basically jump into the DeFi sector, or the, however they want to invest. Tokenization is very clearly benefiting everybody to buying commercial real estate which is worth $100 million, where you can just invest a fraction and get the benefits every month, every quarter, depending on how the scheme is, or buying a Picasso, or buying a fleet of supercars and getting the yield for it, the interest earned on the rentals. So it is beneficial. Definitely regulation is a very, very important play in it. So we have to see now how the regulators globally, basically are working on it. Third part, coming to cybersecurity, I do agree with George that it is a very big concern for investors to lose a lot of their money invested in cryptocurrencies. But today the problem is with the wallets and the exchanges. It's not with the main blockchain where you can get hack into it. There are many ways people who are keeping their their cryptos and Bitcoin in their mobile wallets, or they are kept it in some other virtual place, and they have, for the hackers have found a way to basically hack into your mobile wallet and basically and just take away your bitcoins. So that has to be addressed. Even the crypto exchanges, there have been many instances, hacks have been going on, that has to be addressed. Now that is very normal today, of hacking going on in with large corporations and in governments. So that will have to be continued. Now, the only way which can all this be stopped because of blockchain. It's fully immutable. How you can do everything on the blockchain? Today, the regulation part is very critical. The blockchain ecosystem allows the regulators to be a part of the transaction at the same time a transaction is going on and it's approved. So it makes the reconciliation process much more.
Yeah, hello. Sorry, I think I've lost Girish now. So Gary, let's discuss a little bit more about how
Smoother,
quantum.
faster, and actually not required to do so. Process, all
So
the
Girish,
regulators.
we lost you for a bit in the middle.
So I'm saying in the entire transaction, if everybody is there from the ecosystem involved while the transaction is going on, there's full transparency. There is nowhere there can be any issue of this being a dispute that this transaction didn't happen. So blockchain is critical. It is important. Regulation is important. There are two types of blockchain: permission and non-permission. You decide whether you want it a full public or a private blockchain, or basically or sort of a hybrid blockchain. So looking into the whether the blockchain is for the industry, for the corporate, for the entire investors, for the citizens, only for the government, how it can be controlled, it's very possible on blockchain. Blockchain is such a thing that I can basically restrict one bank to not see the other bank's data of that same transaction, certain data. So there are many ways I can restrict certain data not to be seen by others, even on the private blockchain. A
Right.
public blockchain is very successful today and is being shown. The only limitation in the blockchain today is the scalability to a level what Visa is doing, about maybe 60,000 transactions per second. But we are getting there. I would
Yeah.
expect that in the next 2-3 years we'll surpass it. I know a couple of
Absolutely.
blockchains from South Korea which are already there. So it is
Right.
successful, and I do concur that with others that there are limitations, there are disadvantages, but let us see really what happens from this year. There was a hype cycle 2 years back about blockchain. If you see the Gartner growth cycle, and I would expect that this to really pick up now, because the large banks and corporations and the government are very keen to do transactions. Just 2 days
Absolutely.
back, UAE Bank Al Hilal issued $500 million of bonds, Sukuk bonds, Sharia compliant bonds. So there
Right.
is a very good traction happening now.
Absolutely. Thank you, Girish, for sharing those insights. And governments and regulators are embracing blockchains, which means obviously that's sort of them moving the capital markets very fast out of the hype cycle, as you rightly said, Girish. Well, Joe just shared something. The first quantum encryption in 2002. So quantum can be used to attack, but also protect and defend blockchain. So sorry, Gary, would you like, this is like kind of controversial, but still we'd like to hear your insights about that, how quantum computing is a threat to blockchain technology and why not?
So let's just, I just shared an article that I wrote a couple weeks ago, maybe a week ago or so. But I mean, this, again, I'm a country boy from Pennsylvania, so we're simple about these things. If it's black and white and it's in a field and it has horns, it's probably a cow, right? So the thing with quantum is simple. It runs a lot faster. So imagine being able to do a transaction that would take 10,000 years in 200 seconds. So we're just able to attack the system and attack those algorithms very, very, very quickly. So Jorge is right. You know, my vision is there's going to be like quantum cyber protectors. So probably on a country basis, we'll have these, you know, defense and offensive systems that are, you know, protect and defend. And it's not, you know, on one side, on the quantum, I don't know how much the rest of the panel knows about quantum, but quantum computing is unstable, highly unstable. In fact, I liken it to erosion. You know, you can't stop it, you can only slow it down, right? So the quantum, the good news is that we're in for, our humanity is in for another entire revolution. Our lives are going to dramatically shift because of quantum computing. Imagine, I just was on a panel in Europe a couple of weeks ago on drug discovery and artificial intelligence. We'll take AI, machine learning, and quantum computing, and you can find solutions very, very quickly. And that was just evidenced by Pfizer. Not a lot of people know that the vaccine, part of the research that was done on a vaccine for coronavirus was done on IBM Watson. So instead of using bench time, they actually used artificial intelligence. Well, imagine now on hyperspeed with a quantum computer. Imagine 10,000 years for a normal conventional computer can do in 200 seconds. That's incredible. So that's how much our lives will change. So imagine being able to use, I wrote an article, if you go on Mediums, on genetics, genomes, and artificial intelligence. Imagine being able to define the exact drugs that you need to have at any particular time, consistently monitored. It's just a powerful impact throughout humanity. And in terms of the, you know, we always have, I remember when I was in graduate school, I took a undergraduate course in criminology, just for the heck of it. And I remember the one class said, you know, whenever you have a solution to a problem to protect, the bad guys always come up with a counter to be able to crack it. And that's what it's all about. So it's always this, you know, give and take, give and take, give and take. But quantum just is at a different level of being able to access the information. So it's going to make, in fact, I have an article today in Forbes magazine on quantum computing and cybersecurity, Jorge. So it should be released in a couple hours. And we could spend the rest of the day, we could spend the rest of the month on this topic. It's
right. I'm sure we can.
But the net is, it's just a lot faster. We need to understand that. I don't want people to be too complacent and think, well, blockchain's going to solve it. We don't have to worry about it. Nothing's going to happen, because that's not the case. Because when the bad guys get it, and it will happen sooner than later, nothing good's going to happen. And, you know, so the exchanges that have been vulnerable to attack, I think what I read, what, $2 billion were taken out of the exchanges. That's a lot. You know what I mean? I don't know about you. I mean, for me personally, you know, I had my identity stolen one time, and I understand how quickly stuff gets to the dark web. I had to hire a security consultant to get my stuff taken care of. So, you know, the last thing, and I have a friend of mine that had 10,000 Bitcoins that he bought at a very, very low price, and he lost them.
Wow. When was that?
Well, it was, I don't know, 3 years ago. I actually met him on Vctv. And so one of the things he was telling me, he said, well, you know, and this was not due to an attack. This was due to his system got stolen. His computer, his notebook got stolen. And
Wow.
I don't know. He had his wallet on his notebook and, stuff happens. He said, I didn't pay that much for it, but he's probably kicking himself today.
Yes,
So,
I'm sure he is.
the good news is, we've got, blockchain is a step in the right direction for sure, right?
Yeah.
Because it makes it a bit more secure. It's going to happen. It's just the next level. Quantum is also very, very quickly picking up steam. And we just have to understand that this is not the end all. And there'll be, beyond quantum computing, there'll be other technologies that come out that'll be even more aggressive. But we're in a dawn of a new era. I tell people, they ask me what it's like. I said, this is the beginning of the 20th century, and AI is a new electricity, and quantum computing is a turbocharger on steroids.
Absolutely. Great. Well, probably we're gonna arrange another panel like to talk about blockchain versus quantum computing, or just both the technologies with George and Gary and other interested speakers.
Yeah, sure, anytime, whatever you want. It's so good to see you, Sonny. Although I miss seeing Minnie Mouse in the background, so it's very strange. I feel like I'm in a time tunnel looking at that design in the back of you.
I know. That's what it's going to be like for going ahead. But I understand your emotions and feelings, Gary. Meaning is right here with me, but though. Anyways, yes, just conscious of the time. Moshe, we come to the end of the panel. So we'd like to know successful use cases and any startups that has surprised in a good way that you'd like to share with our audience.
Successful use cases. I mean, we're starting to see some of the bigger institutions coming into the space. I feel we recently had announcements around issuance of bonds on using blockchain. You had Fusang looking to support CCB in Singapore. That hasn't gone through completely because of other reasons, but you are seeing situations there. So I think issuances of bonds is a good successful use case where startups can provide. You will see some real estate related issuances, I would imagine, in the coming days. Other successful use cases would be around capital markets. I'm starting to see more settlement and reconciliation starting to happen, and then custody solutions that are going to come out soon. So the likes of Hex Trust, who have been partnering with a lot of big institutions to provide them custody services for digital assets. And then you have cases like Ledger, whom Nomura have supported to build out a wallet. So you are seeing that happening in the real world. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for sharing that. George, over to you.
Well, I see four primary use cases that I think are quite important and can bring a lot of benefit. I'm sure there's many more, but certainly the ones that I've been exposed to and I've assisted in the past. The first one is real estate tokenization, where you take real estate, you tokenize it, and you give accessibility with fractional ownership. And you get both the value associated with the upsell of the real estate as well as the operational side of the real estate. The second one is definitely gold tokenization. And when I say gold, it could be diamonds or any other asset. But the idea is that asset-backed tokens enable you to create stable tokens, or that then you can not be affected by the printing of other money like it is existing now against the US dollar. So it allows you to create a token that is stable, and then you can convert at the last minute when you need to use. The third area that I think a big impact is in the area of payment systems. And all this inclusion of the banked for an unbanked, implementing payment systems that are accessible to the people that do not have today a bank account will allow them to participate in this new economy in an inclusive way, even if it's for small amounts. And the fourth one, I believe it's still early, but I think the promise is there, is definitely DeFi. I think DeFi is still young. We're still in the baby steps of DeFi. But I think DeFi, as it evolves, it is able to do things much faster. It is able to do things much cheaper. And I think that is a game changer overall. But it needs to be married with the traditional world. DeFi, just for DeFi's sake, is not going to be enough to be successful. So DeFi will have to be tied with real assets, or DeFi will have to cooperate with CeFi to actually see its full exposure and its full growth in the future.
Absolutely. DeFi and CeFi. Absolutely. Thank you, George. Next up, Girish. Girish,
Yes.
Over
Yeah,
to you.
yeah. Like I said earlier, World Bank has already issued bonds. Uh, you have large global banks like JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, Santander already using blockchain for bonds and other capital markets, and of course the local banking services. And Visa has started with a company called Circle, where they are using their basically stable coins to use it for the global payments of Visa and other transactions. The global payments industry is worth about more than $120 trillion. Visa is being part of them with the credit cards and other payment services. Ripple is very, very active. As you know, they have more than 200 institutions and banks who are actively sending money to the banks, to bank in a massive, massive manner. So these are all very live cases, and currently a lot of startups who are in the startup stage, or who are basically in the emerging or Series A stage, who have developed proof of concepts which have been approved. They have approved by sandboxes, by the central governments, by the local governments. So there are a lot of active cases currently on there, and they're all going to go live and implemented now everywhere. It's just a matter of time to really just be accepted by everybody at the same time. The beauty of it is that the cost of it is a bit high now, but the my operational efficiencies become so fantastic that I save tremendous amount of money on each transactions from the bank side. So the consumer benefits. So if I'm charging a consumer say 100 rupees for one transaction of say 1 lakh rupees, it comes down to practically maybe 2 rupees or 5 rupees or maybe free. So this across the entire spectrum, even in the equity markets, right from buying a share to going to the custodian, there's a cost involved today. On the blockchain, this cost comes down by maybe 70 to 80%. In bond issuance, you have a large layer of basic regulators, compliance, custodians. This has come down drastically to nothing today. So blockchain is going to benefit everybody, and it's going to have traction. The consumer or citizen is going to be very happy to have basically as good as free or very, very nominal cost to basically be on the blockchain, and basically have access to many things. Imagine owning a Picasso, or owning a Ferrari, or owning a yacht, or owning some commercial real estate in London or US, which you could not do so even if you had 1 lakh. Today that can come down to say 10,000 rupees or 5,000 rupees, and you'll be happy to earn the yield.
Yeah,
So it's matter of time that everybody realizes. It's the matter of how you educate everybody today, and it just move about, and it's happening today. COVID has helped the entire world to go digital as soon as possible. So
totally.
it's everything is automated, and it is so automated. The smart contract is the best thing to happen on the blockchain, error free. So the smart contract plays a very, very critical role on the blockchain system. Paying off dividends on time to the right person. There will be no mistakes. Paying off interest to all the bondholders. There will be no mistakes. It'll be done all as you set it. It's all preset on the code. That's the beauty. That's how the entire Bitcoin is working today. Everything, the mining, the rewards, is all on the smart contract. There is no way anybody can go and change it, hack into it. That's the beauty of blockchain. It's totally immutable. It's totally transparent. You reduce your cost. What more does anybody want?
Absolutely, Girish. Thank you so much for sharing those insights. And we have a lot of
Thank you.
advantages, benefits of the blockchain technology, rightly addressed by all the speakers. Gary, again, last but not least, I would like to hear about successful use cases or use cases of the technology, crypto or blockchain. You can pick your.
I mean, the situation is, so the good news is that, the democratization opportunity, and which I'm seeing all over the place from, I deal with Africa on almost daily basis, Australia, I mean, you name it actually today. So I'm really encouraged. So the more widespread use of blockchain is encouraging. It's definitely adds a level of security to the current marketplace, and we add artificial intelligence and machine learning to it. It's an interesting combination. I look at futures. I look at, as I've said, the quantum computing and that combination with artificial intelligence. I think that Today, it's a little bit different. We understand our vulnerabilities a lot better than we did a year ago. We understand what the opportunities are. We understand from a fintech perspective how difficult this pandemic has been in terms of the business, from banking and not being able to do, face-to-face transactions. So we've had to evolve and change. The good news is there's technologies coming in place to be able to help us through these difficult times and to really propel us, humanity forward. I'm excited about that. I'm excited about these emerging technologies and quantum computing in particular. So it's a great time. It's a great time for startups because this has opened up the entire world to us to be able to do things differently, whether it's cross-border transaction using blockchain and tokens to being able to, go back to basics and chat box and banking. So it's a great time. You can reach me, Gary Fowler, on LinkedIn. You can reach me on Twitter. I have a couple shows. I do GST Presents out of Silicon Valley. I have people like Guy Kawasaki, Richard Branson's partner, just a lot of people. Top people from all over the world are there every week and be happy to have you there. I also have another group called Gary's Picks, and I picked the top AI startup in the world, sponsored by some of the top VCs, and we put it on board and we highlight them. So it's just to get the word out and to make the world a little bit better place. So thanks for having me.
Thank you, sir, Gary, so much. Very interesting with all this emerging technologies, as you rightly said. Very, very interesting times as well. Mashir, we would like to hear some closing remarks from you on the topic. And then obviously, I think you were once on Vctv. I can't ask you about the best moment, but still you can, your feedback about Vctv.
Right. Thanks. My closing comments on this is this month probably has been more historical for the decentralized blockchain world than before, primarily because of the activities and the flurry of activity that has happened in the financial services world. Right. So in the world we are in, with institutions coming in, and as most of the others have mentioned, in particular, what Girish is mentioning in terms of use cases, the next 2-3 years will solidify that. Blockchain has the potential to become very much like the internet, which is it's a protocol underneath all applications, and nobody really will be bothered about the technical part of it from a layman's perspective, but it'll continue to underpin everything. It's about transparency, it's about real-time interfaces, and it's about immutability. As much as I agree with Gary that quantum can be very damaging for blockchain, it is going to be a question about how many people get that access. A lot of these are controlled by governments in terms of who are given access, and also very high end. It needs a lot of resources to be able to build quantum computing. So we're probably 3 to 5 years away on that space, but that'll definitely be one thing to watch about how do we get quantum proof blockchains in the future. One of the things I've enjoyed about LATOKEN is what we're doing right now is talking to different people from similar backgrounds, but looking at different aspects of the same topic and bringing in their inputs, and a lot of learning for me. So,
thank you. And did you say quantum proof blockchain? I like that. Thank you so much. Thanks, Mashir.
A quantum proofing blockchain, but we'll see if we can get a quantum proof blockchain. That probably is going to be difficult.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Mashir, for those closing remarks. George, over to you, please.
Yes, I do believe that blockchain as a technology is as important as the internet was 30 years ago. One has to look at blockchain as a new operating system. So it is able to create new types of applications, more decentralized, more transparent, more secure. However, I do believe that the best blockchain solutions are the ones where we don't know blockchain is there. So I do believe that we still have a lot of work to do on the usability factor, on making it simpler for the user to use blockchain. So once we have achieved that, then yes, we can move on to solve other bigger problems.
And what's your best Vctv moments? Because you were one of the early speakers on Vctv.
Well, for me, Vctv, the most important aspect that I enjoy the most is obviously the networking and the capability to exchange fresh ideas and being able to debate them in an open way. So I do believe that the best growth in IT and IT solutions comes from the contribution that everybody has, and there is not one point that is more important than the other. And it's important sometimes to even have disagreements, because at the end of the day, that's what helps us make a better IT system.
Thank you, George. Thank you so much for that, sharing those insights. Girish, what's your closing remarks for the topic today?
Well, the closing remarks is very clear that today your data is being used by others and being monetized, and you cannot have access to that revenue. Blockchain basically will help you do that. So you can imagine some point the internet will be on the blockchain. How fast, when, I cannot tell you that at all. But definitely there are social media sites and other sites which are already on the blockchain. The best use case today, if you see about blockchain on the enterprise level, on the government level, is Dubai. Dubai has moved quite a few divisions in the government there on the blockchain. And by 22, 23, they'll have the entire governments functioning on the blockchain. The customs, the immigration, you name it, for the tourism industry. So you can imagine how serious they are about blockchain. Estonia is another a small country which are very, very proactive to be on the blockchain. So it's a matter of time. And I hope that my panelists, of course, they do agree with me about the advantages and beauty of blockchain. But it's us who will basically educate the investors and the citizens to basically know what is blockchain, why it's beneficial, and slowly they will start demanding for the blockchain. The main reason, of course, again for blockchain is corruption. It takes out corruption completely because of transparency. What more do you need then? If I have full transparency, if I know exactly where the money is being invested by the government on whether it's social cause or infrastructure, I am very happy. I'm happy to pay my taxes. Today, there is no basically way I can really know exactly how my money is spent, even for NGOs. So charity based, okay, they raise 50 million, 100 million, 500 million. How they actually and exactly spending the end use of that money on the blockchain? There's full transparency. So that's what's required. So that's all I can say now about blockchain. Why it should be there.
Thank you. Thank you, Girish, so much. You are a very strong supporter. I can feel very strongly supporting the blockchain technology.
Thank you.
And I am as well in support of you as well. Thank you so much. I think Gary has dropped. Gary probably has lost weak connection. We've lost him. He's not in. I don't see him in the lobby. Can anybody see Gary in the lobby here?
Nope, he's gone.
He's not.
Okay.
It says disconnected, yeah.
Okay, great. So I think probably it's a technical glitch or the internet connections probably playing. So thank you so much for your time and sharing your insights. Really insightful, I would say. All the things that you've shared today on the panel, Moshe, George, and Girish, very, very, great insights coming from you, Girish. For the first time you are here on Vctv. I got a lot to learn from you as well. I'm sure our audience also love to hear you all today. I'm looking forward to have you on another panel, very much relevant to the areas that you focus on or work on. So thank you so much. Again, founders, entrepreneurs and startups within your community, within your network, within your portfolio, who are looking to pitch their ideas or pitch their solution or pitch their product, they can always come to Vctv to get the exposure, because we have the investor community. We have people like yourselves who are ready to support them, be it investment, be it mentoring. So there are people who are willing to help them as well. So I encourage all of you, any startups within your community who are willing to get exposure, feel free to connect them with me. Similarly, speakers, investors, influencers, entrepreneurs in the field of blockchain or crypto, or generally technology, the emerging technologies, who want to share the insights to a larger audience, they can feel free to reach out to me, and I'm happy to connect them and give them space to speak about their ideas on Vctv. So that's the point about Vctv, connecting people, staying relevant?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm very happy to learn about Vctv more and how to basically expand and grow the ecosystem and support startups and entrepreneurs, which
Yeah.
they do require. And of course, we have an excellent panel here, which are more expert than me. And being, present globally, it does help a lot to give that kind of insights to entrepreneurs, basically.
So thank you so much, Krish, for adding those words. This is a networking platform. We are here to share ideas, network, and make connections besides helping each other out. So that's the whole point. So it brings me to the end of the show today. It's a weekend, it's a Friday. I wish you all a great weekend. Stay safe, stay connected. And I'll be back next week on different topics with different speakers at 8 p.m. Singapore. Stay tuned, audience, and have a great